You awaken in the 1870s American frontier, thrust into a world where survival is a daily gamble. The air carries a heavy stench, not the fresh scent of nature, but a mix of unwashed bodies, animal waste, and raw sewage. Bathing is a rare luxury, with water too precious to waste on cleaning when it's needed for drinking or cooking. Your bed, a straw-filled sack teeming with bedbugs, offers little comfort, and every muscle aches from the relentless labor that defines life here. The frontier demands constant physical effort, plowing fields, hauling water, chopping wood, or toiling in mine shafts for 14 hours daily. This isn't the modern grind, it's backbreaking work that leaves even the hardiest stooped and arthritic by their 30s. Life expectancy hovers around 35 years, a stark reminder of the toll this environment exacts. Stepping outside, you feel the vastness of the landscape, beautiful but merciless. Extreme weather strikes without warning, blizzards, tornadoes, flash floods, or droughts can kill the unprepared in hours. Your cabin, if you have one, offers little protection. Winter brings freezing indoor temperatures, summer turns clothing into sweat-soaked burdens. Clothing itself is rough, men wear coarse denim or canvas, women endure layers of chemises, corsets, and dirt-dragging dresses, all scratchy and rarely washed. Forget the tailored outfits of Western films, those are pure fantasy. Your stomach rumbles, but breakfast is meager, beans, biscuits, maybe coffee boiled to bitterness, sometimes with eggshells or salt to cut the edge. Fresh produce is a seasonal rarity, and scurvy is common, with bleeding gums and loose teeth plaguing settlers. Meat, when available, is heavily salted or smoked, as refrigeration doesn't exist. Before venturing out, you shake your boots for scorpions or snakes, a precaution born from painful lessons. The frontier's dangers are constant. In towns, disease festers in the absence of sanitation. Cholera, typhoid, smallpox, diphtheria, and tuberculosis spread rapidly, capable of decimating entire communities. Streets are unpaved, turning to mud in rain or dust in dry spells, with horse manure piling up in trafficked areas. Flies swarm, spreading illness. Saloons, far from the glamorous dens of movies, are crude shacks serving raw alcohol laced with tobacco juice, pepper, or even gunpowder. A single drink could blind you. Violence erupts here often, not cinematic duels, but drunken brawls over petty disputes in a heavily armed society. Most men carry weapons, not for showdowns but for hunting or protection from wildlife like bears, wolves, or cougars. Yet towns like Dodge City or Tombstone enforce strict gun control, requiring firearms to be surrendered upon entry. The OK Corral shootout began over such a rule, not a high noon duel. Medical care is a nightmare. Doctors, often untrained, rely on bloodletting, mercury, or arsenic, which can do more harm than good. Surgery lacks anesthesia beyond whiskey or morphine, and unsterilized tools invite infection. A simple cut can lead to amputation or death. Childbirth is perilous, with 1 in 4 women dying in remote areas. Dentistry means yanking teeth with crude tools, leaving people toothless by middle age. Your lunch, likely at a makeshift restaurant in someone's home, offers tough, often spoiled meat and overcooked vegetables. Food poisoning and dysentery are rampant, with no safety standards. Overhearing talk of outlaws or Indian attacks, you learn the latter are exaggerated. Settlers and the military were often the aggressors, but tensions from displacement fuel conflict. Outlaws thrive in areas with sparse law enforcement, where a single sheriff might cover thousands of square miles. Vigilante justice, including lynchings, often replaces formal trials. At the general store, prices shock you. A can of peaches costs the equivalent of $20 today, as transport is costly. Isolation compounds the hardship, mail is unreliable, news outdated, and many never hear from family again. Depression, alcoholism, and suicide are common. As storm clouds gather, you hurry back to your leaky cabin, where buckets catch dripping water. Clean water is scarce, often shared with livestock, breeding waterborne diseases. As night falls, you light a candle or oil lamp, wary of fire. A spark could destroy everything, with no fire department to help. Exhausted, your body aches, your stomach churns from unfamiliar food, and your mind reels from constant vigilance. Sleep comes uneasily as the wind howls, a reminder of your vulnerability against the untamed wilderness. Tomorrow brings new dangers, and survival is earned hour by hour. You rise to another dawn, muscles sore from the hard mattress. Today, you consider traveling across the frontier, perhaps to another settlement or along the Oregon Trail. The Transcontinental Railroad exists, but it's unaffordable for most. Instead, you might ride a horse, if you can afford one, or travel by wagon. Horses are costly, and saddles are designed for function, not comfort, leaving riders blistered after hours in the saddle. A spooked horse can throw you, risking broken bones far from help. Wagons are worse, with no suspension to cushion the jarring ride over rough trails. Dust chokes you in dry weather, mud traps wagons after rain. Breakdowns are frequent, with cracked wheels or snapped axles stranding travelers. The Oregon Trail, stretching 2,000 miles, is a graveyard, 10 to 15 deaths per mile from disease, accidents, or drownings. Cholera kills swiftly, turning healthy people into corpses in hours. River crossings are deadly, with wagons capsizing and supplies lost. Native American attacks are rare, but accidents like firearm mishaps or being crushed by wagons claim many lives. The psychological toll is immense. Families bury loved ones and press on, with no time for grief. If you avoid long journeys, even short trips are treacherous. Outlaws target lone travelers, and flash floods or blizzards can kill. Navigation relies on vague landmarks or unreliable guides, and getting lost is often fatal. The frontier's diversity surprises you. Chinese immigrants, Mexican families, black cowboys, European settlers, and native nations coexist, but equality is absent. Chinese workers face brutal discrimination, Mexican landowners lose property to legal trickery, and black Americans encounter entrenched racism. Native Americans suffer catastrophic losses, with populations plummeting from disease, warfare, and forced relocation. By 1900, their numbers dropped from millions to under 300,000, with children torn from families to attend boarding schools aimed at erasing their culture. Women's lives defy Hollywood stereotypes. They plow fields, tend livestock, and defend homes alongside domestic duties, working from dawn to midnight. Widowed young, many manage farms alone, yet lack legal rights to vote or own property. Unmarried women face limited options, teaching, nursing, or prostitution, the latter driven by desperation, not glamour. Prostitutes endure abuse, disease, and ostracism. Yet some women find freedom in the West, where scarcity gives them leverage in marriage markets. Wyoming and Utah grant voting rights early, recognizing women's contributions. Law enforcement varies widely. Sheriffs cover vast areas, relying on citizen posses, while town marshals handle local order. Federal marshals tackle major crimes but are scarce. Vigilante groups fill gaps, sometimes maintaining order, often fueling mob violence. Hangings are common for crimes like murder or theft, with prisons rare and deadly. As night approaches, you seek shelter in a basic hotel or camp outdoors. Hotels offer bug-infested beds and shared outhouses. Camping risks wildlife or poorly managed fires sparking disaster. The darkness is profound, with coyote howls and unfamiliar sounds fueling anxiety. Sleep is fitful, haunted by the day's perils. You decide to try mining, drawn by tales of gold and silver. Staking a claim is tough, prime land is gone, and fees are steep. Placer mining means hours in freezing streams, panning for flakes worth pennies. Hard rock mining is worse, with cave-ins, toxic gases, and dynamite accidents. Silicosis and mercury poisoning ruin health, and most miners earn barely enough to survive, while saloon owners and storekeepers profit more. Mining towns are rough, with rampant drinking, violence, and disease. Banking is risky, with predatory rates and frequent failures. Ranching seems appealing, but droughts, blizzards, and predators decimate herds. Cattle drives are grueling, with stampedes and river crossings claiming lives. Cowboys, often young and marginalized, earn little for dangerous work. Farming under the Homestead Act promises land, but 160 acres in arid regions isn't enough. Sod houses leak and harbor pests. Plowing dense prairie sod is brutal, and crops face drought, floods, frosts, or grasshoppers. Isolation drives prairie madness, with depression and suicide common. Wage work in towns avoids some risks but brings others. Factories and railroads lack safety measures, and injuries are frequent. Chinese workers face the deadliest tasks, and child labor is rampant. Company towns trap workers in debt, with inflated prices and script pay. Time moves differently here, dictated by daylight and seasons, not clocks. Leisure is simple: storytelling, card games, or music when instruments are available. Books and newspapers are treasured, shared until they disintegrate. Community events like barn raisings or harvest festivals are vital for connection. Churches serve as social hubs, offering education and aid. Food is monotonous: beans, corn, pork, with fresh produce rare. Preservation is critical but risky, with spoilage and pests constant threats. Cooking over open fires is laborious, and water is often contaminated. Children work young, tending livestock or helping with chores by age 6. Education is sporadic, with one-room schools operating briefly, using corporal punishment and minimal supplies. Child mortality is high: 1 in 4 die young from diseases or accidents. Medicine is primitive, with untrained doctors and toxic treatments. Childbirth is deadly, and infections from minor injuries can kill. Isolation breeds loneliness, with prairie madness affecting many. Community cooperation, barn raisings, harvest teams, balances rugged individualism, shaping frontier culture. The frontier's beauty is undeniable, but its exploitation is stark. Bison herds, once millions strong, are nearly extinct by 1884, partly to starve native tribes into submission. Indigenous peoples face cultural erasure, with treaties broken and children assimilated. Diversity, Chinese, Mexican, Black, European, creates vibrant but tense communities, with discrimination pervasive. By the 1870s, railroads and corporations transformed the frontier, squeezing out small operators. Violence wanes as law enforcement grows, but legendary outlaws like Wyatt Earp blur the line between hero and criminal. The Wild West's mythology, gunfights, heroic cowboys, emerges as the frontier fades, with Buffalo Bills shows and dime novels crafting a sanitized narrative. These stories celebrate American virtues but obscure indigenous genocide, environmental ruin, and corporate greed. The real West is complex, marked by courage, cruelty, cooperation, and conflict. Survival demands resilience, skills, and community, against a backdrop of stunning landscapes and profound silence. As you drift to sleep under a starlit sky, you feel the weight of a world where every day tests human endurance, leaving a legacy of questions about adaptation, community, and humanity's place in the natural world. The starlit sky fades as sleep overtakes you, but your journey through history continues, now shifting to the Gilded Age of the late 1870s and 1880s, a time when the American frontier was transforming under the weight of industrialization, migration, and ambition. You awaken in a bustling frontier town, no longer the raw wilderness of a decade earlier, but a place where the promise of progress clashes with stark realities. The air carries the acrid scent of coal smoke, horse manure, and the faint metallic tang of nearby railroads. Your bed, if you're lucky, is a thin mattress in a boarding house, still crawling with lice. Every bone aches from the relentless demands of this era. Whether you're a laborer, merchant, or homesteader, survival requires unyielding effort. The Gilded Age frontier is a paradox, a land of opportunity where wealth concentrates in the hands of a few, while most struggle against poverty, danger, and uncertainty. You rise to face the day, your body stiff from sleeping on a rough cot. The town hums with activity, wagons rumble, hammers strike, and voices barter in a mix of languages. The Transcontinental Railroad, completed in 1869, has reshaped this world, linking remote outposts to eastern markets. But for most, the train is a luxury, and you rely on foot, horse, or rickety wagon to move about. Horses remain costly, their upkeep a burden for the average worker. A single misstep on a rocky trail could lame your mount, leaving you stranded. Wagons, without modern suspension, jolt over uneven paths, kicking up choking dust or bogging down in mud. The physical toll is immediate: blisters, bruises, and exhaustion set in within hours. If you're traveling, you check your boots for snakes or scorpions, a habit born from necessity in a land where nature remains a formidable adversary. Stepping outside, the town's chaotic layout strikes you. Buildings sprawl haphazardly, wooden structures leaning against brick storefronts. Streets are dirt, turning to sludge in rain or dust clouds in dry spells, with piles of waste attracting swarms of flies. Sanitation is non-existent: cholera, typhoid, and dysentery lurk in contaminated water sources. You pass a saloon, its rough-hewn bars serving fiery liquor cut with turpentine or worse. Violence simmers here, not the choreographed duels of legend, but impulsive fights fueled by alcohol and desperation. Most men carry knives or pistols, not for glory but for survival against wildlife or human threats. Yet, many towns enforce strict gun laws, requiring weapons to be checked at the sheriff's office. The myth of the quick-draw gunslinger is just that, a myth. Real violence is messy, sudden, and often over trivial disputes like a card game or a perceived slight. Your stomach growls, but food is scarce and monotonous. Breakfast might be cornmeal mush, salt pork, or bitter coffee brewed with whatever's on hand. Fresh produce is a rarity, available only in brief growing seasons. Scurvy haunts the winter months, with bleeding gums and fatigue signaling vitamin deficiencies. Meat, often preserved with heavy salt, sits like a stone in your gut. Food poisoning is a constant risk, as preservation techniques like smoking or drying can fail, and pests infiltrate stored grains. Cooking is a chore: hauling water, gathering fuel, and tending a fire on a wood stove demands hours. Women, who bear the brunt of this labor, spend entire days preparing meals, preserving food, and maintaining households, all while contributing to fieldwork or livestock care. The diet's lack of variety weakens bodies, and malnutrition is common, even among those with enough to eat. Medical care offers little relief. Doctors, if present, are often self-taught, relying on outdated practices like bleeding or dosing with mercury, which can poison more than cure. Surgery is a last resort, performed with unsterilized tools and minimal anesthesia, whiskey or a bite strap. Infections from minor wounds can turn deadly, and childbirth remains a gamble, with high maternal and infant mortality rates in remote areas. Dentists, if you can call them that, yank teeth with pliers, leaving patients in agony. Pharmacies sell patent medicines, often just alcohol or opium, promising miracles but delivering addiction or worse. Survival depends on luck as much as skill, and chronic pain is a constant companion for many. The frontier's economy is unforgiving. At the general store, prices for basics like flour or sugar are astronomical due to transport costs. A single tin of fruit could cost a day's wages. Money itself is unreliable, private banknotes fluctuate in value, and counterfeits circulate freely. Gold or silver coins are safest but make you a target for robbers. Many workers are paid in company scrip, usable only at overpriced company stores, trapping them in debt. Banks, when they exist, are prone to failure, wiping out savings overnight. For most, wealth is a distant dream, as large corporations, railroads, mining conglomerates, cattle barons, dominate, squeezing out small farmers and prospectors. The Homestead Act's promise of free land is hollow. 160 acres in arid regions rarely supports a family, and many abandon their claims, defeated by drought, pests, or isolation. The frontier's diversity is striking. Chinese laborers, Mexican vaqueros, black freedmen, and European immigrants mingle, but harmony is rare. Chinese workers, vital to railroads and mines, face violent prejudice, driven from claims or scapegoated during economic slumps. Mexican families, many long-time residents, lose land to legal manipulation or force. Black cowboys, a significant part of the workforce, encounter barriers to advancement. Native Americans face the worst, displaced to barren reservations, their populations decimated by disease and violence. By the 1880s, their numbers dwindle further, and boarding schools strip children of their culture, enforcing assimilation under the brutal motto, "Kill the Indian, save the man." These tensions shape a volatile social landscape, where cooperation is as common as conflict, but equality remains elusive. Women's lives are grueling. Beyond cooking and cleaning, they plow fields, tend animals, and defend homes, often widowed young by accidents or disease. Legal rights are minimal, married women can't own property, and domestic violence goes unaddressed. Unmarried women teach or run boarding houses, but prostitution, born of desperation, carries risks of disease and ostracism. Yet, the West offers some women leverage, their scarcity grants influence in marriage and community roles, and places like Wyoming pioneer women's suffrage. Children, too, face harsh realities, working by age 6 on farms or in mines. Schools, if they exist, are cramped, with one teacher for all ages, using slates and corporal punishment. Child mortality is high, 1 in 4 don't reach adulthood, felled by measles, accidents, or malnutrition. The Gilded Age frontier is no lawless chaos but a place of evolving order. Sheriffs and marshals, often underpaid, struggle to police vast regions, relying on posses or vigilantes. Justice is swift, hangings for murder or theft are common, and prisons are death traps. Railroads bring change, connecting towns to markets but favoring corporate interests. Small farmers and ranchers struggle against large operations, and mining shifts from lone prospectors to industrial enterprises. Cave-ins, toxic dust, and dynamite accidents make mining deadly, with silicosis or mercury poisoning claiming lives slowly. Ranching brings its own perils, droughts, blizzards, and stampedes decimate herds, and cowboys earn meager wages for grueling work. Time moves with the sun, not clocks. Work follows tasks, plowing, herding, harvesting, not set hours. Leisure is simple, storytelling, fiddle music, or shared books. Community events like barn raisings or 4th of July picnics are lifelines, fostering cooperation amid isolation. Churches anchor social life, doubling as schools and aid hubs. The environment, stunning in its grandeur, is exploited without restraint. Bison, once numbering millions, are nearly gone, a deliberate tactic to subjugate native tribes. Rivers are polluted, forests felled, with no thought for sustainability. This mindset contrasts sharply with modern conservation, reflecting a view of nature as a resource to conquer. As night falls, you seek shelter, perhaps in a hotel with thin walls and shared beds, or a campsite vulnerable to predators and weather. The darkness is profound, amplifying coyote howls and rustling grasses, stirring unease. Sleep is restless, haunted by the day's trials, disease, violence, hunger, and isolation. The Gilded Age frontier is no romantic saga but a crucible of human endurance. Its myths, born in dime novels and later films, glorify rugged individualism while ignoring corporate greed, cultural erasure, and environmental ruin. The real story lies in ordinary people, diverse, resilient, flawed, navigating a world of scarcity and danger. Their legacy shapes modern America, from land laws to cultural diversity, leaving questions about progress, community, and humanity's role in a changing world. As you drift to sleep, the stars burn bright, linking you to those who face this unforgiving land, their struggles echoing in the silence of a night both beautiful and terrifying.